And we totally understand the struggle, because both of us have struggled for a lot of years with feeling like we didn't belong anywhere, you know, like wanting to belong. And it's such an important thing, to feel that you belong somewhere, to feel part of something. But actually, and a lot of the time when we're caring about what other people think, we are trying to mind read other people through our own level of wounding. And I know this myself. And, you know, it's like that lovely example you said when you went to see the doctor. And because your belief was that people judged you, you felt like you were being judged, but probably in reality, she wasn't judging you, you know?
No,
so there's a massive cost to not looking at this. And actually the gains from mastering this is immense freedom.
Yeah.
Like there's a complete weight lifted off your shoulder. And so we always start with a quote, and this week's quote is by someone called Brené Brown. She's a researcher, author, and speaker known for work on vulnerability, courage, shame, and empathy. I absolutely love this quote. It's kind of in two parts. So the first part is, don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it. Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because you will always find it. Our worth and our belonging is not negotiated with other people. We carry that inside of our hearts. And that's the first half of it, which I think really summarizes what we need to understand, you know. And then she totally embodies this. And so she goes on to say, I know who I am. I'm clear on that. And I'm not going to negotiate that with you, because then I may fit in for you, but then I no longer belong to myself. And that's a betrayal I'm not willing to do anymore. So I just absolutely love that quote.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And it really makes sense. Like, you know, when we look outside ourselves, we're only going to find what we don't like about ourselves, even, because that's comparison. But looking within and, you know, owning our own authenticity and owning ourselves, that's what will make us truly happy, not external opinions.
And we totally understand the struggle, because both of us have struggled for a lot of years with feeling like we didn't belong anywhere, you know, like wanting to belong. And it's such an important thing, to feel that you belong somewhere, to feel part of something. But actually what Brené points out is that it's belonging is different to fitting in. So fitting in, you can't, if you fit in, then you're not belonging, because belonging is when you turn up authentically and are accepted for who you are. And so if you're changing yourself to fit in, or you're caring about too much about what everybody else thinks or their view on you, you're not truly being yourself. And so even if you feel part of that group, you're not really belonging in that group, because you're not really showing up as who you really are.
Exactly. And that's it. We spoke about this before. We put on this persona, we create a persona, you know, how we think we should be, how we think we'll be accepted by others, how we think we should be so as not to be judged. But people are going to judge you no matter what. You know, unevolved people are going to judge you no matter what.
Yeah.
So, you know, being yourself, they're going to judge you whether you try to be like them or not. So why be fake when you can be who you are? And just own that. Own it. Who cares what anyone else says? The only opinion that does matter is your own. And when we stop comparing ourselves to others, that's when we actually feel like we belong, because we belong in our own skins then. Because you don't even feel like you belong in your own skin, because you're trying to fit into something that isn't for you.
Yeah, and a lot of the time when we're caring about what other people think, we are trying to mind read other people through our own level of wounding. And I know this myself. And, you know, it's like that lovely example you said when you went to see the doctor. And because your belief was that people judged you. You felt like you were being judged, but probably in reality, she wasn't judging you, you know?
No, I was in a very low vibrational energy, and I was in a low state. I was feeling low about myself. So I perceived that I was being judged, or, that people felt bad about me because I felt bad about myself. But, a year later, when I'm in a better confidence, and a higher confidence level, I went in and she was just so, so nice. And I'm like, why isn't she nicer? She's not nicer now. It's just I respect myself more. I'm not worried about what she thinks this time. And she's actually really nice. Like, so, it was just my perception. And that's the thing, is how we perceive things as well. Mm-hmm. We think that somebody's judging us, when in actual fact, they probably aren't even thinking about us.
Yeah, going back to Renee's quote, where she says, don't walk through the world looking for evidence for whatever it is, that you don't belong, that people don't like you, or whatever it is, because we know that the brain cannot process all the information that it receives. It's completely bombarded all the time, and so the only way that it can process it and make sense of it is by distorting, deleting, and generalizing the information. And it does that in a way to fit the narrative that you're telling yourself. So if you are telling yourself that you don't belong, you will find evidence of it. And that's what she's saying in that quote. So if you go through the world thinking that people don't like you, you will find evidence for it. And you will also show up in a certain way that will make it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. You're reminding me of my imposter syndrome that I had lately with my courses and with the project we started. I was just like complete freaking out. I was like, I don't belong here. These people are so different to me. Oh my God, they're going to judge me for me, and all that stuff came in. And I was just like, when I eventually worked through all that, I was just like, no. And then when I turned up for the call a couple of weeks ago, I was like, these people are more like me than I thought. You know what I mean? And when the first call was like, oh my God, no one is like me, but in actual fact, we are actually all quite similar. You know what I mean? And I'm like, when I took away that fear or that imposter syndrome, I was able to go, hold on, you were creating something here that wasn't real.
Yeah, and that's it. And when we're living in a place of fear, we're not open. We're not open to seeing other possibilities. And so then you are very much driven by your subconscious, the narrative that you're telling yourself, and those beliefs that probably were formed very early on in life, and you might not even be fully aware of them. So last week we were talking about the unworthiness wound, and people may think, oh, well, I don't think I'm unworthy, but it actually comes out in so many different ways, and so many different beliefs, and so many different narratives and thought patterns that we go through. And actually we project the way that we feel on other people. And now what I mean by that is that if I think somebody, say, doesn't like me, or doesn't think I'm a good teacher, for example, I will look at their posture, their behaviors, and I will apply it to me and what I think. And we don't know we're doing it, and this is not from a place of judgment. We've gone through this for many, many, many years of our life, most of our life. And when we come to this realization, it's like we just want other people to know that it doesn't have to be like that. It's changing the way we talk about ourselves, noticing that we have these limiting beliefs about ourselves, and being open to changing them, open to finding evidence that they might not be true.
Yeah, that's it. And that is it. Like, the comparison thing, it really is, it's detrimental. It really is. Because, we are all different. That quote came to my mind there. It's why fit in when you were born to stand out. Yeah. You were born to be different. You're born to be unique. Yes, we all have similarities, but we're all unique in our own way, and that's what makes us beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, you see the same thing walking down the street over and over again. People who look the exact same, people who talk the exact same. You're like, oh my God, this is getting boring. Give me some uniqueness, give me some authenticity. And that's where power lies, is being with our true selves and not caring what other people think. And that's the thing with the unworthiness one as mentioned. That's the external validation. We're seeking outside ourselves for love, for validation that we didn't feel we got as a child. That is the same as the unworthiness one. So if you don't think you feel unworthy, ask yourself, do you care what people think about you? Are you showing up as your true self? Because this will all point to the fact that there is an unworthiness wound, which is connected to your abandonment and your rejection as well. It's all interconnected. So understand that, that, if you're caring what people think, that is a reflection of how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, that's so. And when you, at first we don't, oh, it's not me. That's that, it's like reading that book, feel the fear and do it anyway, you
Yeah.
said, and you
Oh
read
my
it.
God, the
Sometimes
first page,
we
it was
don't.
like, no, throw it
Yeah,
away.
it's like sometimes we don't, we're not ready to hear that. Sometimes we're not ready to take responsibility for ourselves and our own thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so we slam the book shut, put it to one
Yes.
side. And also it's important to remember that we heal in layers, and that any growth journey is a journey.
Yeah.
It's just like these things still crop up for us too, don't they, Angela? We're
Over and over
really good.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're really
Like,
good at spotting it
thankfully,
now.
now we are. Like years ago, obviously we weren't aware of this, but our patterns. When you look back, you can see that our patterns are trapped in toxic relationships, or constant toxicity in our lives. We can look back now and see that that was the reason for that happening was because of our unworthiness wound, and was because how we felt about ourselves. But as we've evolved and as we were awakening and growing, we're able to become more aware of that. And yes, we've been on the healing journey a long time. We've healed a lot of that, but it still comes up for us every single week. It comes up every day, even. But that's why you need to be self-aware and check yourself. Ask yourself, why is this bothering you? What is it that person said or did that is bothering you? Because usually that trigger is connected to something within you. And oftentimes we're triggered because of our shadow. And what does your shadow do? Your shadow hides the parts of ourselves that we are afraid to show people because we're afraid to be judged. So this is where we have to come into the shadow work side of things. Owning everything about ourselves, because any suppression of self can lead to uneasiness or dis-ease within our bodies. So, if you're constantly going around miserable, or, feeling a lack of worthiness because of what other people think, that's because you're suppressing something within you. You're suppressing your true self.
Absolutely. And the cost of caring too much about other people's opinions is it limits your confidence, because your confidence is not self-driven. It's built on other people's opinions of you, and other people's opinions can change and situations can change. It limits your creativity, because if you have a great idea but you're unable to share it, or do you even trust that it's a great idea? Are you willing to put yourself out there and try something, even if it means looking foolish? Well,
Mm-hmm.
not looking foolish, but you would feel that you would look foolish. Like, you don't feel looking foolish in somebody else's eyes. It's not really looking foolish in your own eyes. People, if you're worried about being foolish, or if you're worried about failure, it's actually because you're worried about other people's opinions of you. Because if other people were out of the question, they were out of the problem, and you just went and did it. If it didn't work, you'd be like, oh well, I'll try something else.
Yeah,
But it's that
exactly.
not wanting to try things, so it stifles your creativity and your confidence. It makes it really hard to make decisions. And as a terrible people pleaser for a very long time, most of my life, I was so indecisive. I just would want someone else to make the decision, because I'm trying to mind read other people and I want to get it right. And if I can't get it right, then I'll just let someone else make the decision. And so it makes you indecisive. You lack creativity, and you lack confidence, because you're wanting other people to validate you, to make you feel confident and believe in yourself. It can cause stress and anxiety. So people pleasing causes burnout,
Yeah.
because you are not able to say no to things, so you end up throwing yourself under the bus for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a massive cost to not looking at this. And actually, the gains from mastering this is immense freedom.
Yeah.
Like, there's a complete weight lifted off your shoulder. And yes, it does take time to process, but it can start to happen really fast if you make the decision that you're going to change it. If you make the decision you're going to change it and you believe that it's possible, and we are both examples of how that is
Yes.
possible, then you can change this stuff really quickly, can't you?
Yeah. And it is such a freeing, it is a sense of freedom. Like not walking outside the house and not giving a fuck what anyone thinks about you. You can just, like, it's like peacock energy. And it's not being vain or anything like that. It's literally just owning who you are and not caring what people think. And it is just a beautiful, there's that tension all the time when you're caring about other people's opinions, and that kind of, that constant anxiety, that constant fear, that constant worry. You know, and it's such an enlightening experience to actually own who you are, be proud of who you are, and not care that you don't fit into somebody else's world, because obviously that's not your world anyway. You know, you're going to fit in and be accepted by the people who love you for who you are, you know, not who you're not.
Yeah, and it's different, isn't it, to be liked for who you really are than being liked. It's better to be liked by a couple of people for who you really are than lots of people who you're not. Because you
Exactly.
know deep down that that's not who you are, that you're showing up a certain way to please other people. And whatever you're people pleasing, your energy is outside of yourself because you're so busy trying to second guess and mind read other people that you're not focusing on yourself and what you're capable of and your creativity and the steps
That's
that you can make.
you're not
Yeah.
present, you know, and that's what you're trying to say there. You're not actually present in your body. Do you know what I mean? And somebody could be having a conversation with you and you're not listening to that conversation because you're worried about everything outside of that conversation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's not, you know, it's so beautiful to be able to be present in the moment with somebody.
Yeah.
Do you know, and not be in your head about your own insecurities. You know what I mean? Like, you know, to actually be in a conversation with somebody, to actively listen to somebody rather than listening to all the shit in your head. Like,
Yeah. And we do a this is an example. So we do like a coaching practice group that keeps us fresh, but and refines our skills. And in that group, what we have to do is we just get thrown into a room with another person, well, another two or maybe three people, and one person watches us coach and is going to feed back to how they thought we did, and the other person we coach. And in that situation, you need to be an active listener. And if you're not present with that person because you're worried about, am I doing this right? Am I saying that right? Then you can't effectively coach because you have to be present for the other person
that's
to coach them,
the
don't you?
point. Yeah, you know, that's what coaching is. A lot of coaching is active listening. Do you know what I mean? And if we're stuck in our heads worried about what we look like on the camera, you know, you're not going to be a good coach because you're literally kind of not listening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's so important. And it's, you know, even in not a professional situation, even when you're in friendship or, you know, in relationship with somebody or even a family member, being present. Like, I look back on the amount of conversations I've had in my life where I wasn't present. And, you know, that's actually kind of sad because I missed out on a lot of maybe memories or presence with people because of that. And, you know, that's why I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to sit there and be present in the moment and actively listen to someone and not be in your head. Like, it's really nice.
Yeah, because often in conversations with people, we're just waiting for our turn to speak, aren't
Yes.
we?
I used to do
We're
that.
just like thinking about what our response is going to be.
Yeah,
And
I
it's a
used to
real
do that.
change for coaching. You have to be, it's not about what you think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about coaching. And I think a lot of people don't really know what coaching is, but coaching is like letting people get all of their thoughts out and you help them organize it essentially,
Yeah.
and so it's not really about your opinion. We give advice and things obviously, but the most powerful part is that it it's somebody that's actively listening to them. And for a lot of people, they've never really had that.
Yeah.
People don't really listen to the other person. Active listening is such a powerful tool to make people feel like they're valued, actually, because it shows that what they have to say and what they think is important. And we don't get that a lot in life. Like I say, we
No,
just
you're actually reminding me of a few situations, with my dad, and like, I go back and say something to him that I was actually saying to him, and he just looked through me nearly, and I was just like, it just certain things come to mind, and I was just like, that was important to me in that moment, and you forget. That's not a good person. Do you know what I mean? You don't do that to people. Sorry, that's what I'm saying. Trigger.